I do hope some of you were able to get up early in the morning, as in 3 a.m., and watch some of the inaugural Mass of our new Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, in a packed St. Peter's Square. 10 days ago, as you know, I stood in that same square with thousands of other people, pilgrims from around the world, clergy, religious, tourists, Romans, old and young, waiting, watching. I hope some of you got to see some of the videos I sent back by means of Facebook. I kept sending it to you, and also perhaps you saw some of the interviews, like from KNOE all the way to CBS with Nora O'Donnell. I had no idea who she was. I know who she is now. That video went pretty viral. One of the high school students came up to me and said, "Hey, Father, I saw you on TikTok." That's the first time that's ever been said. So we're all there in St. Peter's Square looking up at that chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel. I had already seen the black smoke twice, and then suddenly the white smoke. And then the bells of St. Peter's started to ring out. And there was just so much joy and excitement and anticipation. There was a great sense of unity, all of us there, from this French man with his young son and daughter. They were on my right side. There were a group of nuns from Uganda in front of me, a group of Filipinos, 3 other Americans, a Cuban, an Albanian, Italians, of course, all around. But we still had to wait 1 more hour before we found out who was elected. At one point, I turned to look behind to see what was happening behind, and there were so many people who were running in order to get into, or at least close to, St. Peter's Square. You could also see back there all of this scaffolding and news crews with all the lights and cameras that were there. The world was watching. The world was watching. Why? It was all because of Peter, a poor Galilean fisherman. Peter, who made his way all the way to Rome, and there was crucified upside down and buried at that spot where the basilica stands today, the world's largest grave marker, towards which everyone was facing. The world was watching. World leaders this morning were gathered for that inaugural Mass as well, the leaders or representatives of so many countries. The world cannot ignore the leader of the Catholic Church, the successor of St. Peter. The papacy is the longest lasting institution in the world. No other office or institution has endured through so many centuries, regimes, empires, social upheavals, and our share of very bad leaders. Its strength doesn't come from armies or wealth, but from a divine foundation. Peter heard those words from Jesus, "And you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." In other words, the church is going to be here until the end of time. In that 1 hour after the white smoke, reports say that over 400,000 people gathered in St. Peter's Square, in and around. And then, of course, finally, we heard those famous words, "Habemus Papam," we have a pope. And let me tell you, everyone went crazy. It was the loudest it had been the entire evening. It was super loud, and then it got so super quiet all of a sudden. Everyone was listening. Who is it? Who was it chosen by the cardinals, and chosen so quickly? Only 4 ballots needed, a sign of unity amongst the cardinals, by the way. From the 133 cardinals representing 72 different countries, they chose, as we all know, the American-born Cardinal Robert Prevost. And then we heard his chosen name, Leo the 14th. And I love how he stepped out onto that balcony, not with fanfare, not with slogans or some nice little clever sound bites, not even wanting to talk about himself. He just stood out there and simply said the words, "Peace be with you." That was the very first thing that Jesus said to his apostles after his resurrection, and the first words of Pope Leo to us. Peace be with you. We have a new pope, not the successor of Francis, the successor of Peter. We have a new pope, but the same gospel with the same commandment which we have heard time and again: love one another. Pope Leo was elected on a Thursday, May 8th. 3 days later, a week ago today, I stood there in St. Peter's Square yet again. This was his first Sunday address, and he said something very beautiful, and I automatically thought of everyone here. I consider it a gift from God that the first Sunday of my service as Bishop of Rome is Good Shepherd Sunday. Jesus reveals himself as the true shepherd, etc., etc. Then he prayed for vocations, especially to the priesthood and consecrated life. He prayed for the youth. He prayed for mothers. It was Mother's Day as well there in Italy. He prayed for peace, for Gaza, for Ukraine, for all nations. And then very importantly, he prayed for peace within families. I think that's a prayer that we can all take to heart. Peace within our own families. So, from what I've experienced firsthand and from all that I kept hearing from the people who were also gathered there in the city of Rome, I really feel this great hope. I mean, we're in the Jubilee year of hope. Hope does not disappoint. Everyone is joyful. They are encouraged, even with the words of the Pope reminding us of our tough mission. He said, the church's mission is to bring the ever new life of Christ to every age, to every heart, and every corner of the world. That's our mission. That's your mission. He's not talking about the mission of some institutional church. It's your mission to bring the ever new life of Christ to every age, every heart, and every corner of the world. Do it. No matter what it takes, do it. Live a fully Christian life every single day. It's not easy, of course. We know that. We need God's help. We need God's grace. I also think it's very providential that we got that first reading today from the Acts of the Apostles, in which Barnabas and Paul, they are strengthening the early Christian communities who are being persecuted for being Christian. They remind them that it is necessary for us to undergo many hardships to endure the kingdom of God. And boy, isn't that true. We know it's not an easy life. We're promised a new life, even through suffering, yes, but into glory. The early church, as we heard, faced many trials, and yet it grew and flourished because it remained unwavering in its commitment to Christ's mission. Our new Holy Father, he's going to experience many trials, just as Peter did and Paul, Christ himself, my goodness. As the church continues to grow, it will continue to grow, especially as long as it remains rooted in love and unity. Habemus Papam, we have a Pope. Inspired by his new ministry, the ministry of Pope Leo the 14th, and the courage of the early church, we commit ourselves anew. Right now, this morning, we recommit ourselves to Christ's mission and being instruments of unity and love in our corner of the world.